Hey y'all, this is Lauren from One Anna Two Girls, and I'm bringing you a bow tutorial. So I'm going to teach you how to make the bow for the Prairie Schooler ornament pillow. If you remember, I showed you some of these in a previous video, and we have a whole bunch of them stitched on our one Christmas tree in the dining room. And several people have asked how to make the bow and the hanger. So if you can see, it's a double bow. And then there's the hanger. So two different sizes of ribbons, and I'll explain all of the supplies that you need to make this bow. And then I'm also going to show you how to make a regular bow that we use for some of our other projects as soon as I'm done making this one. So for this particular one, you are going to need a ruler, just grabbing my OmniGrid ruler. You're going to need if you want to use the same color, I'm going to show you the colors and you can write them down. So this is an Offray ribbon, and this one you need in 3/8 and also in the 5/8 inch sizes. So you need these two sizes of ribbons, and I'm going to show you the back here. This is the 3/8 packaging. So be sure that you take a look at all of these numbers, and just to let you know that not only can you look at the SKU, but if you look at the back of the packaging, this 3097 and then the 789. So those are the two numbers that you're going to need in order to locate your correct color of the burgundy ribbon that matches the Prairie Schooler floss, DMC floss, which is 221. So we're using the called for colors of floss, and then we just took our pillow to the store and matched it up. So we did all the work for you. And again, Offray ribbon in the 5/8 inch and the 3/8 inch size. And I'll show you that one more time back here. And you'll also need this number over here. So pay attention to those three numbers across the top, and take a screenshot of these spools. Offray brand. Here's the front of the packaging. You can find Offray ribbon at Walmart and Michael's. So just be sure to take a look for that. I'm sure you can find it online, but we buy ours at Walmart or Michael's. You're going to need a pair of sharp scissors, and I really like these small Fisker scissors with the silver blades, not the black blades. Those are for non-stick purposes, but the small Fiskers. If you have a small pair of gingers, not your needlepoint gingers, but if you have a small pair of just your sewing gingers, that works too, because you want to be able to have a scissor that is going to cut through ribbon, and essentially like a fabric scissor. But I find that this particular scissor works really great for my ribbon. And you're going to need a small needle. I really like John James needles, and we do carry John James needles in the Etsy shop if you are looking for a great needle. So for my bows, because I hand sew them, I like a quilting needle because it's a smaller size. If you have a favorite needle, as long as it's super sharp, do not try to make them with the Crosstitch needles that are typically a 24 needle. You really want to try and stick with a size 8 or 9 needle and make sure that the tip of them are very sharp. I have a couple other needles tucked in here, but it's these shorter needles that are in there. So again, I really like John James, but if you have a favorite, that's okay too. You're going to need a thimble, and this is my favorite thimble. It's called the Nimble thimble, and it's made out of leather, and it has a plate inside here so that when it's on your finger, the metal plate inside here, which is comfortable, you don't even feel it, is what I do to push my needle through when I'm doing tedious work and when I'm actually doing the bindings, hand stitching the bindings to the back. So Nimble thimble. That's my favorite. If you have a favorite, use that. You're going to need some dual duty sewing thread, So I prefer dual duty brand, and just in case anybody doesn't know, you can get the full line of dual duty, at least at our Michaels and several other Michaels around. You can get the full line of dual duty thread at Michaels, and some Walmarts are now carrying the dual duty brand. Our local Walmart is not carrying the dual duty brand, but the Walmart closer to the city is carrying this brand. And you can use any brand that you want, but just don't buy the generic, I think it's like Happy Craft or something like that at Walmart, some of the smaller Walmarts. Ours is Super Walmart, but I don't know why it doesn't have that. And this is the color that matches the ribbon that matches the cross stitch. So here's the label. It is color 2850. And I'll leave that on the screen for a little bit. 2850. And again, that's the dual duty brand. Here's the other side. And then here's the color. And you can see it matches really closely to the ribbon here. Okay, you're gonna also need some straight pins. And for my bows, I mean, we do tons of sewing. So this is a regular straight pin, but I like my small glass head pins. I feel like the tips are sharper. And when I'm holding my ribbon, after I shape it into the bow, I use this to hold it. I prefer the really sharp glass head pins. You can buy these at Walmart. They're the Dritz. Is it Dritz brand? Yes, they're the Dritz brand of glass head pins. So you need some straight pins. Let's see. I have already pre-threaded 2 of my needles with my thread. I don't know if you can see it, if it's coming through there on the camera, but I've already pre-done 2 needles with my thread, and I recommend about 34 inches of thread, and I double it and put it through the eye of the needle so that you have a loop down here and then your loose ends here. So hopefully you can see and that you may understand what I'm talking about. If you have any questions, let me know. And I wrote down for you, and I'll hold this up, the lengths of the ribbons that you're going to need for each of the 3 pieces. So for the small bow, you're going to need a 10.5 inch piece of ribbon, and that is with the 3/8 inch ribbon. Small bow, 3/8 inch ribbon, 10.5 inches. And for the big bow, that's the larger size, 5/8 inch ribbon. You will need the 8 1/4 inches. So 5/8 inch wide. For the big bow, you need 8 1/4 inches. For the hanger, back to the 3/8 inch, you're going to need 9 inches of ribbon for the hanger. 3/8 inch size, hanger, 9 inches long. So these are the 3 sizes that you need to cut. The small bow and the hanger are out of the 3/8 inch size, and the big bow is the 5/8 inch size. This is for your Prairie Schooler. I wrote it all down for you. Prairie Schooler ornament pillows. These. Okay. Now, I'm going to switch the camera around and we're going to get started on the tutorial. And I hope you enjoy it and learn something new. All right, y'all. We are going to get started. I have already cut my big bow piece for the 8 1/4, and I've already cut the small bow piece for the 10.5 inches. So we're going to go ahead and cut the hanger to the 9 inches. And that's our hanger piece. That's for last, so I'm going to sit that up there. And to get started, you're going to make the big portion first. So let's move that out of the way. And you're taking your 8 1/4 inches of ribbon and you are overlapping them about a 3/8 of an inch with each other. just like that. 3/8 inch overlap back here. And then you're going to make sure that you visually see where that seam is, and you're going to try and center it in the middle of your loop, and make sure that your ends are flat. See that guy? He's trying to sneak out there. Okay. And then you want to take one of your straight pins and pin right through all the pieces that you held together there in the middle. And then what I do is take my pin like this, and I fold the two pieces of ribbon back so I can look and see, am I in the middle or not? And it's a skosh off, if you can see that. See how it's off a little bit? Got to fix that. So you see which side is longer. It's this side facing me. And you take your pin out and you just move your ribbon over about 1/8 of an inch to even it out. Put your pin back in about in the middle, and I usually have a ruler. I've got the mat here, but if you need a ruler, you can just hold it on here and center your pin with the ruler. So you can see I've got it centered right there. And then you can do your check again. And we're perfect. I like my stuff perfect. So otherwise, it's off kilter. Now, you're going to take one of your threaded needles, and remember it has the loop on the end down here. If you can see that on my hand, right there. And you're going to start at the bottom on one side of the pin or the other. I'm going to start on the left side. And that little rascal is coming out on the bottom there again, so we just want to fix that because you don't want any of that sticking out. That's why I use the pin to make sure that it's holding all of my ribbons together. Okay, now you're going to put your needle through all 3 layers from the back side. So from back here, you're going to put it as close to the edge as possible so that you are grabbing all of the layers of ribbon. If you can see my pin coming up through there, let's see. I'll pull it further through so you can see where my pin's coming through. Okay? So pull it through. Don't pull your loop through, because you're going to take your needle and grab that loop and pull it taut so that it's attaching all 3 pieces of your ribbon near the bottom. I forgot my thimble. You got to get your thimble on for these parts. And then you're going to bring your needle about 3/16 of an inch up from the bottom of your piece of ribbon. And then another 3/16 inch. You can do 1/8 inch or 3/16, whatever works for you. And then put your needle back down through, and we're going to sew a straight line right up against this straight pin with our needle and thread. And you can see up the back and then down again. So I know you can't see that because I use matching ribbon, but I've tied it off down here at the bottom. And then I've made 1 stitch here, skip the space, I've made another stitch here, and now we're at the top of the ribbon, and we're going to do the same thing and put our needle through at the very top, making sure, just like that, that you're through all 3 pieces of the ribbon. And now you have your straight stitch up through the whole ribbon. Leave your needle threaded and remove your straight pin. Now we're going to give a gentle tug on the ribbon to cinch in the middle of this bow. Okay, and while you're hanging on to your ribbon, I've got a good hold on it because you want to keep that scrunched together, and you take your thread, I didn't mean ribbon. You take your thread and you wrap it around 5 times so that you've got a good base here with it tied around there. Okay, and then turn your bow over and grab your needle and thread, and this is what it looks like on the back. And you're going to take your needle and thread, and starting from, so your thread's up here, you're going to bring your thread down to the bottom, and you're going to sew your needle through those little bumps where it gathered, so through the gathering, and then push your needle through and grab it from the top of it and give it a little pull. And you're going to do the same thing. Your needle and thread are up here. You're going to bring it down again toward the bottom. And you're going to go on the other side of your stitches. And you're going to sew through those gatherings and push your needle with your thimble and pull. Now, we're going to tie off this piece of thread. And you do that, I do that with the loop method. So you grab a little bit with your needle under your threads and you push that through. Make sure your loop stays on the back. And you've got your loop here that you're going to put your needle through this loop and pull tight. And you're going to do that one more time. Oops, sorry about that. You're going to do that one more time where you're going to grab a little ribbon and the thread. Again, push your needle through. Make sure you have your loop. Put your needle through your loop and pull taut. I love that sound. And then you are going to just take your thread through one of your bumps, one of your gathers on the back there, and pull the thread through so that it's underneath some of your ribbon. And then you're going to clip that piece of thread off so that it's not too close to your ribbon, but close enough. So see all these little flingy things here? That's just the ribbon fraying. And I'm going to trim those off. Okay. Now, that is the base of your bow. Okay, set that aside, and now we are going to make the small bow. So you want to have your 10.5 inches of ribbon and your next needle and thread. So for this bow, this is slightly different. So that's the base of our bow, and then this next bow has the 2 loops, and then it has the tails. Okay, so we are going to find the center of our ribbon. Give it a little crease there so you know where you're working at. And you're going to form by taking the right hand side, you keep your finger in the center, form your loop for the right hand side, and hold it with your finger. And then you're going to take the left side of the ribbon and tuck it underneath. So you're going underneath. So you've got the straight part of the ribbon here, this loop, and then you've got your 2 side loops. And then on the back, you'll see where your tails of your ribbon actually crisscross each other on the back. You want this straight part to be the front of your bow. And again, grab your straight pin, and you want to eyeball your middle. And it is challenging to hang on to these things, but you want to put your straight pin through the bow. And then it's also, you know, through all layers of the bow, and hang on to it. And then you want to test your loops to make sure they're exactly the right size with each other. So this one is with itself exactly the right size. So that's our center, and then we've got our 2 loops, and you can see how that's going to look. Okay, make sure you got your thimble again. This is our second threaded needle. If you want to thread your needles ahead of time, that's fine. If not, get yourself another threaded needle. Now, I'm doing the same technique where I'm making sure that my needle is going through the back pieces of the ribbon right in the middle next to my straight pin. And I'm going to pull my needle up through from the back to the front. I have my loop there. Put my needle through there so that I have a base. Starting, you know, it's all tied off. And then this one we're going to do smaller. So don't go over 1/8 of an inch as you're sewing up the ribbon. So take a stitch from the back to the front, and then you're going to take another stitch. You're going to put your needle down through right next to your straight pin. And then again, come up about 1/8 of an inch from where you just were, from the back to the front. And then you're taking your needle at the very tippy top, and you're going to go from front to the back. So you've got this. Again, we tied it off here, we made a stitch, leave a space, and we made a stitch that makes it clear to the top of the ribbon. So you've got your thread and needle up here. Take your straight pin out, and the same technique. I just gather my thread over here and I pull a little bit. It's hard to get 3/8 inch ribbon to buckle there in the middle, but just show them who's boss. Just pull on your thread over here like I'm doing and shove that bow together in the middle so that you have a little bit of gathering. And again, we're wrapping 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times around the middle so that you have this with your thread. Turn it over, and again, take stitches through your gathers in the back on one side of your sewing, and then take stitches through your gathers on that side. Okay, so now we're not going to tie off. That pretty much ties off your thread, so your bow's not going to go anywhere at this point in time. Leave this attached, and we're going to place it right on top of our big bow, just like that. And wrap so you have your thread out the top of your small bow, and you're going to wrap your thread around both the big bow and the little bow, right there in the middle, covering just exactly where you did, about 4 times to hold them together. And again, you're going to run your needle through the gathers on the back of the big bow. Okay, and to tie that off. So this is what you have so far. Leave your needle threaded, and this is what you have so far. Now for the hanger, here's the hanger. You can see the style of hanger that we like is shaped like this. Other people may like other shapes, but this is what works for this bow. So you're going to take your hanger, 9 inches of ribbon, and you're going to shape it into a teardrop shape, crossing your ends like that. And on the back of your bow, turn it over. On the back of your bow, so this is the front. This is how it's shaped. And you're going to attach it to the back of the bow like this. So this is the front of the bow, and then this is the back. And your needle and thread are already on the back. And if you need to pin these, you can put a straight pin through to help hold it, but I just simply hold them in my hand and take my needle up through. So I'll tip it there. Hopefully you can see. So I'll take my needle through here and run it up through both pieces of that hanger ribbon. And just try to make sure as you're sewing your hanger's straight. So I'm hanging on to that, and I'm going to go back down through both pieces of my hanger ribbon, and I'm going to grab on to a bit of the large bow ribbon. And I'm going to pull it tight so that I'm attaching that side. And then we're going to go back down through our hanger. And again, you'll feel it when you put your needle down through. You'll feel that part of the bow. This is why you need the thimble. And you're going to grab through both layers of this hanger ribbon and again, grab part of that large bow ribbon. And I'm sewing a stitch here in the middle, a stitch over here, one over here. I'm going to put another one over here on this side. So what I essentially do is make like a square of stitches around the hanger ribbon as I'm sewing it. I've got it wrapped around my loop there. And I shredded my end of my hanger ribbon there because I grabbed onto it. There's a straight pin magnetized to my scissors. Let me just cut that off real quick. I did not fray check the ends of my ribbon. I don't fray check them until I'm done at the end. So if it shreds, you just chop off that little shredding nonsense that it does. And then we're going to go over here in the middle. And again, sew another stitch through all the layers attaching that hanger. This is no easy feat, but it's worth all of your time and effort put in. So now that I'm over here, I'm going to actually put my needle through below the hanger. So I've got a nice chunk of that big bow right there, and I'm going to put my needle through there. Looked like a nice secure spot. There's no, pure science to it, but you want to make sure that you're always grabbing parts of that big ribbon bow. Okay, so I've got that securely on there. It's on. We are going to tie this off. Listen, I had just enough thread here. 35 inches. You may need a little more than 35 inches, but we're making it work here. So push it through again, make your loop. We're going to tie off again with the loop method. Tie it off, and you're going to tie it off again with the loop method. And then again, take your needle, shove it down through to the underneath side, and pull it out, and then trim your thread. I don't trim too close. I leave like 1/4 of an inch because I don't want anything to pull out. And then there's some of the ribbon that frayed, so you just cut those little pieces off. And then you can use the fray stop. Let me grab that real quick. You can use the fray stop. We sell this in our Etsy store. This works great. And you can use the fray stop on all of these ends here. And I can show you how we do that. Let me grab that real quick. Okay, so I just give it a shake, and we just put a little dab onto a piece of our cardstock from the scrapbook side. There's a little bubble in there, but that's okay. And we dip our ends into the fray stop, and this doesn't give you a stiff edge. So I'm just taking. Sorry, I picked red paper. Sorry about that. Taking the bow and just dabbing the end into the fray stop. And you can see how it immediately absorbs there. And you can't see it when you're done, once it's dry. And again, the other side of that, and I'm going to dip it in there. There's a little piece, but I'll cut that off. Dip it in there, and you can see there. And then if you do have that, the needle is stuck to my scissors. Just trim that little piece off like that. Okay. And then to fray stop back here, just very gently dab your fray stop onto those little threads of your hanger, just like that. You don't need a lot at all for any portion of using the fray stop. And there you have your Prairie Schooler ornament, pillow ornament bow. I don't use glue to attach the bow to the pillow. I just use some needle and thread, and I actually just go back here and I hand stitch the bow onto the fabric. So you might be able to see it a little bit better under here. I just hand stitch it on. It doesn't take a lot of stitches to secure the bow onto the top of the pillow ornament. So this is it. Done, completed. Not too bad. Thank you so much for learning this method, and I hope that you're able to use this on not just your Prairie Schooler pillows, but on other things too. Okay, and for the next bow that we're going to make is just a simple one ribbon bow that can go on pillows, it can go on ornaments, it can go on the flat folds. And don't forget that we sell the pre-made flat folds, the pre-made ornaments, and pre-made flats. If you need an already finished and done flat fold for you to attach your own cross stitch to, we do sell those and carry those in the Etsy shop. These are 3 different ones. I figured I'd bring out the Groundhog Day because who doesn't love Groundhog Day, especially if you're a Pennsylvanian. Good old Punxsutawney Phil. See how cute these are. So cute. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that you can make these single bows out of the 3/8 inch size. You can use the 5/8, you can use 7/8, 1 inch, whatever it is that you're looking to use. You can use, up to 1 inch. I've actually used a wired ribbon before. I'll show you those when we see all the Valentine stuff. And then this is the double bow with the 3/8, and then this is a, let's see, 5/8. So 5/8 and a 3/8. Look how cute that little bow fits perfectly on this small flat fold. So we're just going to make a single one just like this, and then you can feel free to experiment and make all kinds of other bows. For this one, I'm using the Hobby Lobby boutique ribbon, and I'm using the 5/8 inch size in the navy. So there's the label of what I'm using. Again, dual duty thread, and let's see, color 4880. Okay, that's what I'm using. And let me just quickly get, for this one, you only need one needle threaded, and I didn't pre-thread my needle. Sorry about that. Just trying to be quick for y'all. It's snowy and very windy here today. It's very snowy outside. It snowed overnight, and some of it stuck, but the sun came out and melted some of it, but now it's snowing again. It's very windy out. And my apologies for having to thread the needle here. My mercy. Okay. Last try. Let's get the other needle. And in the comments below, you can let me know if you're going to try some bow making, or if you make a different type of bow. I'd love to hear about that too. Okay, I finally got it threaded. All right, so we've got about 16 inches of ribbon here to make a decent sized bow for, this is a 6.5 inch wide flat fold. And we're just going to take the part in your right hand and bend it towards you to make a loop. And then the, I switch mine to the left hand, and then the other side, again, you're going to take it and bend it. So maneuver your loops around so they look about the same size in your hand. Let me move that. So that's about the same size, but again, we're going to test it like we do the bows for the pillow ornaments. And again, I'm putting a straight pin through there, just like that. That's crooked as dog's hind leg. Put the straight pin through and test your loops. So grab onto it over here and test your loops, and you can see that one is significantly longer than the other. That's this one. Take your pin out, squeeze tight with this hand, and just pull gently on the other side of the ribbon. Put your pin back in, do another check. And it's got to come a little bit more. See that? So it has to come a little bit more. I'm going to maneuver the bottom of it. You can maneuver the tails, you can maneuver the bottom, because that's just the straight piece. So you can maneuver either side, whatever you have to do. Now, y'all, sometimes I have had to play with my bows quite a lot just to get them correct. Hopefully this will do the trick. Okay, check them again. Check it again. Pretty good. That side is still giving me a fit, isn't it? Must have been off way more than my eyes were telling my brain that it was off. Okay. Look at that. Perfect. Whoops. Throwing my bow. All right, so you want your straight pin down through the middle. Grab your thimble again. Grab your threaded needle. Again, start at the bottom, and you want your needle to come up just at the bottom there of your ribbon. I know that has to be so hard to see. This is my needle. This is the straight pin over here, but this is the needle. And please excuse my non-manicure. It's wintry and the dry skin just gets the best of you, you know? Okay, so we looped it through down there with the loop method, tied it off, And we're going to put our needle about 1/8 of an inch up, 3/16 of an inch up. And we're going to take our needle back down through the back. And we're just going to sew a straight line, leaving space in between your stitches. My stitch is so close to the straight pin you can't see it, but my stitch is right here next to the straight pin. And here's my needle that I'm sewing with. Let me push it up through there. Here's the needle I'm sewing with. So I'm coming up about 3/16 of an inch away from my last stitch. And I'm going to make my stitches about 3/16 and just keep sewing up the straight pin, and then finally put your pin through the top from the front to the back. Remove your straight pin. If it gets looped around your bow, you just pull your thread and get it free. I'm pulling my threads down so I have a better handle on it. And then we're going to pull on the ribbon on this hand and pull on the thread on this hand so that you're cinching in the middle of the bow, like that. Wrap it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When I'm just making a single bow, I wrap it around 8 times so that it's nice and secure. All right, and then turn your bow over to the back. Take your needle through the back only, through those folds, through the gathers, on one side of your stitching and again on the other side of your stitching. Pull it all the way through. Do the loop method to tie it off twice. There's my loop. Tie it off once. Here's the second time. Find your loop, thread it through, and then again take your needle, tuck it through the back, and we'll clip that thread about 1/4 inch away, and voila, you have a finished beautiful bow for any cross stitch project or any sewing project that you might have. So that's the bow method that I use to make these types of bows on the flat folds, ornaments, all sorts of things you can use a bow for. Thanks so much for joining. I hope that you learned a lot, and I hope you really like making your bows. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you can get all of the latest tutorials. And thank you for coming to learn how to make this beautiful bow for the Prairie Schooler Santa pillow. And don't forget, you can use this bow on anything with any color ribbons that you want to match whatever kind of pillow ornament you're going to use and hang on your Christmas tree. So thank you so much. We really enjoyed having you with us today.